I can. Oh no, it's gone. No, no. It's
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm going to begin the presentation about devpi of Roger Krekel. Driving, packaging, and testing need. Please shut up your cell phones and listen and enjoy. Thank you.
Cell phones. Yes, hello, good morning. Very nice you all made it this early, but maybe the party wasn't lasting long enough yesterday to get back late today. Okay, so I'd like to talk about devpi and I'd like to make it interactive. So if you have any questions in between, just raise your hands and I will repeat the question and we can directly discuss things. Maybe I'd like to try something if you have enough time at the end. So if some of you who are anyway sitting on the laptops typing away could, sorry it's a bit small, do pip install devpi. That would take a while, it takes a few dependencies, just during the first slides and then later on you might try something. Okay, so first I'd like to, I don't know how many of you are up to date regarding the current packaging. Like who knows about PEP 426, for example? Okay, 7 people. Who knows about distlip and distill? Okay, that's quite good. And the wheel packaging format? Okay. And the setup tools merge? Okay, that's very good. Okay, so communication does work in the Python community. At least to like this group of people. Of course, there's many, many more people using Python who don't really know about this. Just last week I gave a course, a testing course, and for them this was all completely off. I mean, they had no clue and were completely confused on what's going on. And as you all know, it's going on for a while. Python packaging has been developing like forks of setup tools to distribute and things like this, and new PEP tries and trying to get packaging directly into the standard library. And for many years basically we have been struggling to get a better situation. But I think finally we are really getting somewhere. So the setup tools, I think the merge that distribute now is no longer advertised at all. You only use setup tools and everything has been merged back. That's a big step. Distlib is kind of like the current experiment together with distill to support the new PEP 426 packaging metadata. This is a purely declarative format that is mostly meant for installation. So the build step, actually, the building of packages is probably also for the foreseeable future is going to be driven by setup.py still, because there's just so many things that relate to what people do in setup.py for their builds. It's very, it's not so easy actually to get this into one declarative metadata approach. So that is really, you can read that in PEP, and still being worked on. It's not completely finished, but I think it's very nicely moving forward. Then Christian Teune, I'm not sure if he's here, he wrote Bandersnatch, which is PyPy server mirroring, and due to the recent CDN move, Content Delivery Network of PyPy, that was kind of a harsh task because things changed and the changelog notification didn't work anymore, and we have been working with Donald and other people to get this to work again, and devpi server is the effort I'm involved in, which is more like a partial caching approach. It doesn't really try to get all of PyPy, but just the things that you need. Okay, and finally, this is a try, yes? This is a try to actually get a good binary packaging format in Python, the wheel format. And that's also integrated into pip, and the current release candidate of pip includes that. So that has wheel support, and people can actually start to package up this wheel format. Okay, in general, I guess you know about the standardization trap, right? There's this issue that you look at things and you say, this is all crap. We should all do it this way, and then of course we just end up doing things another way. And this has been discussed in this problem basically is something that many people are aware by now in the Python packaging community. So there's some chance actually we avoid this trap, but rather find approaches that incrementally take things further. I'm still hopeful there, but I think there's always kind of like the risk of saying, oh, you all need to change this, by the way, and that's going to cause huge friction. But okay, let's be hopeful. I think it's going to work out, but it's always something to keep in mind, or to this. I think that the underlying problem for standardization, this standardization trap that I see, is that if you do something and you say, before this is any use to you, you actually need to change everything. It's always a difficult proposition. It's the IT stuff, even just the Python community is just too big and has too many evolved practices to just demand that people change everything just to work with my tool. And it's a common approach, and it's also a trap, I think, to get into this kind of thinking. That also relates to your organization. Like if you're doing something in your organization and you say, oh, I have a great idea, but everybody needs to change everything for that, it's always a difficult proposition. Okay, devpi, therefore, tries to take a wrapping approach. That means that it doesn't really do, for example, what disclip does or other tools in kind of like supporting a new metadata standard or so, but it rather invokes existing tools, mainly pip, later also distill. So it kind of like tries to get things on a bit of a higher level so that you can just use the current best practices, but it doesn't try to re-implement that, except maybe for the PyP server approach. The devpi basically has two parts. It has a server part, which is a caching server I'm going to discuss in a second, and it has a client-side part, which is you can install it on your laptop and use client workflow commands, which we're going to look into. Now, why a new index server? At the time I was considering this, I looked at something like, I have a big matrix actually that I'm going to publish maybe. It's like 16 different PyP servers that exist. Because it's something apparently that everybody at some point, especially in a company, gets to implement. Has anybody here implemented their own? Yes? At least one person? Yes. And it's, there's all kinds of approaches. Some people just use an Apache server and use the pip install find links and all kinds of approaches to actually make this work in a company setting. But I think there's, I wanted to take a bit more of a thorough approach there. I wanted to have something that is very much, I'm doing test tools and all this, so I'm very interested in having a tested code base there, which few PyP index server implementations actually have, including the PyP Python org one, doesn't have tests. And I wanted to have something where when I upload my packages, and that has dependencies on existing PyP packages, that I don't have to put those there as well. I want them to be transparently available. So I want to have a merged index. I just upload a new release candidate that has dependencies, but they get just dragged in. At the same time, I wanted to have something that also supports caching, so I can use it on planes and trains and don't have to re-download. Now with the CDN, PyP is faster, but even then it can have problems. And some of the problems can be avoided using this caching approach that allows offline operations. Another thing is, because I'm doing this also partly for a company, they want to have staging. So basically something like a user does something, and they has a release candidate basically for his library, which needs to be integrated, so it goes into some kind of integration area. From there, basically people can install it in that integration area, and once it's ready, it's pushed like to the production server, and then all the servers install that new version of the tool. So some kind of staging. So not just one global index where everything is just thrown into, but a bit more of a structured approach. Okay, so you can use the server completely without the client-side commands. It's completely compatible to pip and easy install to use as a drop-in. But it becomes much more convenient if you use these wrapping commands, because if you work with multiple indexes and things like this, then configuring the indexes into the various config files, like pip config files, distutils config files, and all this becomes kind of cumbersome. And these workflow commands are kind of a thin wrapper of like doing this work for you. So you don't have to memorize all these configuration places and get confused. So the use command is actually for saying, okay, I'm using this index now. Usually just do this, and then from then on you work with the install, upload, test commands. This is like the thing. Upload is if you have a package, then you can, which has a setup.py, you can just say devpi upload, and it detects your setup.py and just puts it to the index. We're going to see an example soon. Install basically allows devpi install is like pip install, and you will actually see it invokes pip, but it uses the right index and some options. And you can also use something like install -e. Test is a command that is like install in a way. I mean, it basically creates a new virtual env, it installs the package, and then it checks if there is a tox.ini, which is basically an approach to kind of like a testing tool that allows to configure your test run. And then it runs those tests. And in principle, there's already support for reporting back the test results that you get from such test runs to the index server. So you can actually see at the place of the artifact, you can see of the release file, okay, this has tests run already on Windows and on Linux and so on. So it gives you some more insight in the status of your packages. Push is the final thing for pushing a package between indexes or to pipey. Once you are happy with your release, you can do that. Then there's some configuration and administrative commands. Index user and get JSON is more like a debugging thing. The devpi server has a JSON REST interface, and get JSON basically allows you to get at all these resources and get a JSON representation. Okay. So the release workflow, how does it work? I basically say, okay, I use this index, then I upload a release file from my project where I have a setup.py, and then I can do this from multiple machines basically which are connected to this index. I can just say devpi test package name, where this is basically the name from the upload here. And then when and I've done that and think, okay, this is great now, I just do devpi push -r pipey, and then this exact release files, including any docs I have uploaded, upload docs also works, basically pushes all of these release files, which might be multiple, because you have binary release files and so on, all of that in one go to pipey. So you have a very controlled process for your release. If you just want to use it as a laptop cache, what I said in the beginning, you just say pip install devpi, and then you just go on. It has like defaults that allow that this just directly works, no configuration. It's zero configuration. You just use this on laptop, and if you don't care about basically more complex uploading or other things, you can just use this and then be happy on a plane or train to, once you have installed things, they will just keep installing in fresh virtual envs and so on. Install -e dot is something, I guess, who doesn't know about this? Def install e? That's actually, maybe you know about setup.py develop. If you have setup tools installed, it means that you install your current working directory you install it, but you can really modify the source and it's automatically installed. And that's this. It's kind of like the development mode. You have this package and you want to see it basically, you make a change and it's directly available from as if it would be installed. So that is just like pip, and it actually invokes pip install -e. So that's that. You don't, sorry?
Run it in the laptop way, does it have a background server
Yes.
all the time?
Yes. So maybe I just show that because we have enough time for that. Let me just see. Do I have network now or not? Somewhat. They don't support pings, I think. So now I don't have a server running, and if I make a new virtual env, and then say basically activate that, then I can use my other virtual env where devpi is installed and install, for example, PyTest. Oops. Maybe I can't. I'm sorry. Didn't really prepare this. Wasn't it a good idea? Let's just pip uninstall PyTest here. That's the easiest thing. And then do devpi install PyTest, and then you will see here it says automatically starting devpi server. Because as long as you're using defaults or not configuring anything, and you use the workflow command, it will check is there any server running by trying to connect to it. If not, it actually starts it in the background. And you can see via devpi server log, you see basically the log file of what is currently going on. And so you saw here that the caching server actually got to pipey from org to get the release file. In this case, it was actually cached already, I think. Yes, was cached already. So, and you can also stop this server, of course, and can say that's gone now. And if you start the server yourself, like what I usually do, like this, for example, this makes it available on like more broadly, not just on localhost. Then the command will detect that it runs already and will not start an automatic server. But there's many configuration possibilities. I just thought it's very convenient to have something that if you just use it as a laptop cache, then it's very easy to just install it and just use it, and it's managed for you. Yes?
You talked about automatic virtual env creation. It's only for the test command.
Yes. The automatic virtual env creation is only for the test command. We can look that up in a second. So if you have like a more organizational deployment, then on the server side, you do this pip install devpi server, and you configure this. There's a few configuration options how you can actually start this. So this is then running on your server, and you can put an Nginx in front of that or something like this. And then from your clients in your organization, you basically do just the client-side devpi use, and then whatever is your URL, and then you are connected to your company's server. So that's something where you might also start to create users, and there's support for that. But it's a bit more, I mean, that's a bit of a matter of policy, how you exactly do that. And one thing that is very important, I mentioned this, it's this staging approach. And for that, it's very interesting to understand the inheritance thing. So there is a special user in devpi, which is called root. It's kind of like your root indexes. And this one is basically always there. It's root/pipey. And that's it's a special index. You cannot upload to it directly. It's a caching mirror. So it contains basically all of pipey. And when you can use this index directly and not use any of those. So just as a read-only mirror, basically, where you don't upload something, you just use it in your company and don't care about all the upload functionality. Then you will get all of pipey, and it will cache on first access. So when you install the package, and it's not there in the cache, it's going to be grabbed. And when you do that, basically, then there is in the background a synchronization protocol that asks PyP if any of the packages I already accessed have changed. And if so, they will be automatically updated. So it's a real-time updated cache of whatever you access. Then this is an index that inherits from that. It's an overlay index. So it has all these packages that are in here, plus the ones that you upload exactly to this index. Right? So it's a simple inheritance. And this is basically where you do your local uploads, your private per company uploads that you don't want to upload to PyP, but you just, either because it's development or because you just say this is private, you're not going to publish it. And there's not, so yeah. And then you can have like user-specific indexes, one or multiple, where that also inherit from your company integration index, where you just play around with things, test things, and once you're happy, you just say, okay, now I put this into root dev. Yes?
Question, what happens when you have the same packages with different releases in these indexes?
What happens if you have the same packages with different releases? So basically, if you try to, there's a property of indexes which is called volatile. Like, is this a volatile index or is that a non-volatile index? Volatile means that this index allows overwriting, which I find useful, for example, if I want to prepare PyTest 240, I successively upload always 240, because eventually this is going to be the last, this is going to be the exact release I want to publish to PyP. I cannot just increase version numbers there. Doesn't work. So this is a volatile index. Right? And here, it's a matter of company policy how you do that. This can be volatile or not. You can say that if it's not volatile, you cannot overwrite anything. So trying to actually upload something that exists or pushing from here to here will fail if it's a non-volatile index, right? So it's basically, you have to decide a bit on what you exactly want to do. I think usually the user indexes, they can be volatile because they're anyway per user playgrounds. And then the more this is official and many people are affected, you should have non-volatile indexes because otherwise it gets confusion in terms of installation and version numbers. And obviously if you try to push something to PyP and that exists, then PyP will respond and say conflict. And this only, yes?
Is that it automatically updates from PyP if it detects a change?
Yes.
Does it also keep the old version?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So basically, this caches obviously all the simple pages, but it also caches all the release files, and it also, I didn't mention that yet, I think, but I have a slide. It also caches third-party ones. I mean, you know that, I wrote with Karl Meyer, I wrote this PEP 438, which is a big reason for the big improvement in the Python installation pip installation situation, and it basically gets rid of this third-party download page crawling. A big reason why PyP was slow was not because of the missing CDN so much, that's also a part, but because on the client side, the crawling to third-party sites like homepage URLs, download URLs was performed. And that's now for most packages. I think Donald, just a couple of days ago, he made the final transition. So now something like 90% of the packages on PyP don't involve this crawling anymore. So it's basically just a lookup, how many release files are there, install, right? But there still are some, like docutils, for example, or there still are some that actually involve crawling. But the devpi index here does the crawling within the server. So when you basically use pip or easy install, it will never crawl with the devp server because the crawling is just shifted to the server here in your organization, and it's always done from there, and it actually reuses code from pip for that. So it's not perfect yet, the integration, but it's basically using the same logic there, and so. This is really a complete flat view of all Python packages. There's no crawling anymore involved. And So the client installs are always very fast and don't require any third-party connection anymore at installation time. That's the idea. Okay, we could, I think, if we like, try to have some of you actually installed devpi? Okay. So if you try to, you already have done that basically. You should be able to do that if my IP address is really reachable. Devpi use. And then we can see if 10, 30, 31, 46. And the 3141 is the first numbers of P. You know, very easy. Devpi. You know.
Does anyone else use this? Does anyone else use that number?
That number, P, I don't know. I've never had a conflict so far, but if somebody complains, then we can change P. Okay, so I hope it works. I mean, we will see. Yes. So people are now installing basically from this server, and it's currently using the event-led backend. So this is currently using Bottle, and then multiple clients come there, and once you have installed something, you will notice that if you install it again, it's going to be very fast, basically, because everything is just going from the local cache. Of course, we can't see the screens now of people trying the installs, but that's basically how it works. Now, what you can also do is, what you can also do is, and I would like to show that actually as well. If I, for example, say devpi test, I can say test this on the Python 2.7 environment. And this will basically, it's a bit fast maybe. Let me just see. It's fast because it's all locally cached. So it's very fast actually to set all the stuff up, get everything and do it. So here it actually looks at, oh, that's a very nice. Here it actually gets the latest PyTest 2.4.0 development candidate and verifies stuff and so on, and then it unpacks, it finds this tox ini in the unpacked directory, and then uses this tox and starts things, installs, creates a virtual env. This is now tox doing things, installs dependencies, installs the package, and then it runs basically this test command, which is configured in the tox.ini, and then things basically run here. And at the end, that doesn't work currently, but at the end it will post the test results to the index server. It's kind of future work. And you can basically do this, sorry, you can do this for any project that uses tox.ini. Does anybody have tox.ini, some project that you can have published on PyPy? Flask? Flask. It probably has a bit of a, let's see. No? Could not receive link. Oh, maybe it, wait a second. I'm using this index. No. It's,
You stopped the server maybe.
No, I didn't. Should just work. So this is a Flask install, so I'm just wondering why test Flask doesn't work. It should. I'm sorry, I can't really tell you why this comes now. Maybe you actually need to have it uploaded. I mean, if I go to a project like, for example, execnet and do an upload, then something, okay, yes. If I try to upload to PyPy, that's rejected. Just to make sure that you don't, because my current index is really root PyPy. That's the read-only one. So if I accidentally just do the upload and I'm in the wrong index, this doesn't work. So it basically rejects uploading there. So I have to use an index that is actually writable for me, and then it does that. So in this case, it also does an extra step because it knows how to export Mercurial repository. So it puts it into a clean directory where you don't have any kind of residuals and performs the upload from there. So you don't have like accidental files on there. And then if you go to the index, if you go to the index, the web interface is not so great yet. You will find the in-stage latest packages. So I uploaded this, and execnet I just did here. That's like a release candidate. And it tells me these are the current release files. And it also tells me that it's based on this index. So it just shows you the information. It's no nice interactive graphic or so, but it gets you the index information. And if you click on any of that, then you will see currently just the metadata of that package. It's not really meant yet for human interactions, but it gives you at least the information, including the README via REST. Okay. Maybe one more thing that is interesting. Upload has a number of nice options. For example, I can say upload formats sdizip, sdistar, I think, or tgz. So this will upload a zip format and a gztar format from the single command. So you can just say, okay, I make like multiple things, including, of course, things like bdist-egg. Okay. So also a bdist-egg there. And of course, you can also say with docs. So this performs also the upload docs using swings for the stuff. And then you have everything there. And once you are happy with the state of that, you do devpi push -r pyp, and all of those files actually get pushed there. I mean, you need to specify exactly what you want to push. So it's like this. I want to push this release and all of the release files to pyp. Yes? Yes. Yes. What do you do if you? How do you prevent accidental uploads to pyp, like pushing like this? Well, the upload you saw, you cannot. I mean, the upload command cannot upload something to pyp. It's just not possible. There's no devpi upload configuration that you can use. The only way how you can get something into pyp is via this command. And this is. Can you see it? This command here. That's the only way to get something to pyp. And so you need to be very specific. You need to say not only execnet, but you need to say exactly the version number. And you cannot just use, you have to use -r pyp. So it's, yes, you can do this accidentally, but it's not very, it's not like, accidentally typing this, devpi upload. That's easy to do, and you learn, but this doesn't work. You never get, with this command, you never get something into pyp, right? Only with the push command. So I hope it's safe enough, and if not, you have to do something. There is a feature request actually, and what I would like is something like a labeling approach, where you can basically say that you have a label for either on a per project basis or for all things in an index, and unless, and then you can have a policy where you say, unless this has the open source label, it can never leave the index server to anything else. So something like this, right? But that's not implemented yet.
If I do something wrong, maybe it's not finished or something missing, can I invalidate a package globally so that it's not in use by anyone else, and so all the others can be updated if they do the next request?
Is that actually working with the microphone? I'm not sure. Can you, yes, once you have pushed something to an index, can you get rid of it again? No, it's not really possible currently. There should be, but I've had it's also a feature request there already. What you can do is, you can go to That's the current approach, if you have that problem, which is not good, of course. So the indexing is basically mapped to the file system. So you will find the root def index basically here. And there you see the different projects. And then you could, it's not, it works. You can actually just remove a file and it will work. But of course, there should be something like a real command, devpi, kill or remove or something like this.
Well, maybe you can just upload a fixed version, then it will override it?
Yes, sure. You can just upload a fixed version. That's also possible. Another thing is that if you already have a directory with files, for example, let's just make one. So now I have a dist directory here, and let's maybe also make one here, an sdist, and then I just take this and put it into the same, where was I? Execnet, right. So I put this file, okay, so now I have a directory here with like 2 package files, and you might have many. And there's a blanket upload command that is called from dir. So that basically says upload all the commands from this directory, and it just finds all the release files, unpacks them, gets the metadata from inside the release file. There usually is a package info file, and then registers that those files actually to the index, and tells you if anything goes wrong via the HTTP return codes from the server. So it's a very nice blanket option. If you already have like 80 packages and you want to put them into one index, you just do this via this bulk upload command. Yes?
Hello. You said an index inherits from another index. My question is, does an index can inherit from several indexes?
Multiple inheritance. Yes. Unfortunately, multiple inheritance is implemented. So you can have multiple indexes actually, but I somehow, as in programming, I'm one of the guys actually being skeptical about this, especially when it comes to the indexes. But yes, you can do it. The devpi index command is responsible for creating a new index, and you basically say basis equals and then comma separated, and that's going to be exactly the order. So it first takes from that, and then from that, and then from that. You can have multiple. The company I'm working with, they wanted to have that, that's why I implemented that, and then in the end I convinced them not to use it. So they just have a linear situation now. Yes?
Do you mind actually if we ask questions, or do you want to finish your presentation first?
It's almost finished. I mean, I can just say two more slides basically, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I just said that devpi use your laptop basically. Mm-hmm. What if I want to revert? I do like localhost? Or?
Yes. The devpi use thing is devpi use just so shows you where you are, and you can also log in and things like this. I didn't show the whole login user stuff, but you basically can. There's two things. You can say you can just use this. So you just use an unqualified kind of like relative path. So you stay within the same devpi server instance. But of course you can just point it to whatever. So if somebody would have something running now here, I could just do this. Michael release tests or something like this, and then it would just use that. And you can always, but I also showed when I do something like, for example, get JSON, root, like this, then you get the JSON actually so you can have tools actually that go to this JSON and do something with that. That REST interface is not completely going down to the metadata yet, but I actually thought hard to try to get really a REST interface. So it's like a user. Every user can have indexes. Every index can have release files, and release files have metadata, and so you can basically go down in that JSON. Is that the total time actually?
Question answer time.
Question answer time. Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, so just 3 notes. The next steps I'm going to be involved in is mirroring, so having multiple instances, because the company I work for currently wants to have geolocation distributed situation, Jenkins modifications, and a bit more ACL work, access control there. Okay.
I'm very sorry, but the time is over.
Yes.
So if you want to continue, please do your own course.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.